All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Prashant Kumar Sinha. The headlines. India set to become third largest economy in the world by 2029. Country's exports to cross $750 billion this year. ISRO successfully test inflatable aerodynamic decelerator to land missions on Mars or Venus. NASA calls off Artemis 1 moon rocket launch again after liquid hydrogen leak. Centre to begin year-long celebrations of Liberation of Hyderabad from the 17th of this month. ED raids Paytm, Razorpay and cash-free premises in Bengaluru as part of crackdown on Chinese loan apps. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to launch anthem and mascot of 36th National Games in Ahmedabad today. Leh in Ladakh all set to host first ever Mountain Bicycle World Cup today. And in cricket, India to take on Pakistan in T20 Asia Cup in Dubai this evening. Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan by 4 wickets in first match of Super 4 phase. And now the news in detail. India is set to become the third largest economy in the world by 2029. A State Bank of India report said India will surpass Germany in 2027 and most likely Japan by 2029 at the current rate of growth. The report said that the country has undergone a large structural shift since 2014 and is now the fifth largest economy overtaking the UK. The path taken by India since 2014 reveals the country is likely to get the tag of the third largest economy in 2029, a movement of 7 places upwards since 2014 when India was ranked 10th, it said. The report is authored by Soumya Kanti Ghosh, Group Chief Economic Advisor, SBI. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the International Monetary Fund's own forecasts show India overtaking the UK in dollar terms on an annual basis this year. This has put India, the Asian powerhouse, just behind the US, China, Japan and Germany. Ms. Sitharaman said a decade ago, India ranked 11th among the largest economies, while the UK was 5th. Arvind Veermani, former Chief Economic Advisor, said that India is moving up the power scale and according to the earlier forecast, by 2028-2030, we will become the third largest economy in the world.
This ranking determines the relative power of countries. So the GDP of the country in US dollars, very roughly according to my indices which are more precise, measures the relative power of a country. So what it is telling in the broader context, leaving aside the UK, the specific things, is that India is moving up the power scale. And according to my earlier forecast, by 28 to 30, we will become the third largest country.
In Morning Matters, now let's listen to a discussion on India becomes the world's fifth largest economy. The participants are A.K. Bhattacharya, economic analyst, and Shishir Sinha, journalist.
Mr. Bhattacharya, the first question to you is about current ranking, which has brought India to the fifth position and pushed the United Kingdom on sixth position. What does it mean in terms of overall global economic order?
Well, in plain and simple terms, India is now the fifth largest economy, not on a purchasing power parity basis, purely on a cash GDP basis, nominal terms. And it has left UK behind now, going by the Bloomberg study. You will remember that in 2017, moved ahead France to become the sixth largest economy. There was some expectation that India would have left UK behind a little earlier. But I think the COVID situation affected our growth and size of the economy. And now that the UK economy is still struggling and reporting contraction, India is staying ahead. And therefore, it is now the fifth largest economy in the world, which would mean the total size of the economy. And in terms of some sort of satisfaction that you may soon race past Germany. Now Germany right now is around $4.2 trillion. India is right now around $3.5 trillion. So maybe it will take another year or couple of years maybe, or maybe a little more to race past Germany. And then India becomes the fourth largest economy. And then scaling past Japan would not be that big a problem because Japan is not very far ahead. So in the next maybe 5 or 6 years, if we continue to grow at the current pace, which is itself is under debate, India may well become the third largest economy in the world. So therefore, it is a trajectory that you get to see from this announcement that India has become the fifth largest economy.
My next question was about the inflation only, because the one challenge which all the economies, whether we talk about US, whether we talk about UK, whether we talk about Germany, Japan or any other economy, the inflation is really posing a big challenge. How do you see the situation in India? Of course, we have seen some kind of reduction in the rate of inflation. The next number will come. What kind of challenge you see on the inflation front, considering the global prices of various energy products?
Inflation is going to be a very, very serious challenge. Inflation tends to affect the pace of economic activity at various levels. And when you see the product prices go up, you also don't see that India is now experiencing two kinds of inflation. At one level, you are seeing the retail inflation that is hovering at around 7%, for which the Reserve Bank of India is expected to report to the government what it wants to do going forward. But don't underestimate the impact of the wholesale price index base, which is a wholesale price inflation. And that has remained in double digits for almost 16 months consecutively. Right. Now, when the wholesale price index also stays ahead in double digits and consumer price remains in 6 to 7%, right, then what you see is actually even the producers who are buying their raw materials, intermediates, inputs at the wholesale price level, their costs are also going up. So the margin is affected. So you will be seeing the impact of inflation not just on the consumer who are buying products and services, but also those who are producing those goods and services, because their margin is coming out. So what I do see in the coming months is a dual impact of wholesale price inflation and retail inflation on the economy. So you are right, this is not a very happy sign. Although there are prospects, there are indications that retail inflation will probably cool off a bit in the coming months. The winter months are always the lower thing.
Sir, one issue which is also posing some kind of challenge, that is the slowdown in Chinese economy. How do you see its impact on Indian economy?
To the extent that import from China is still one of the big items in our import basket. They account for a good chunk of our imports. But if the Chinese economy slows down, it will definitely impact the global economy, because China is the second largest economy in the world. It is also hugely trade dependent. I would say the Chinese growing at 0.4% in April to June period of this year is bad news for the world economy. If it is bad news for the world economy, global demand will also be adversely impacted. And India's hope that it can ride on higher exports, and remember, exports are a very, very important element in the economic growth engine of any country. So to that extent, China not doing well will have an indirect adverse impact on the Indian economy, export demand in particular. Okay. So we need to be worried about it. But beyond that, we don't get anything from China which is of critical importance. It's not fuel or anything. So yes, our overall growth will be impacted because of the world economy slowing down.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya, for talking to us.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on India becomes the world's fifth largest economy. The government has said that the country's overall exports will cross $750 billion this year. Last year, it was at the level of $676 billion. Briefing reporters in New Delhi, Commerce Secretary BVR Subramaniam said, goods exports are expected to touch $450 billion, while exports in the service sector will reach $300 billion this year. Giving details of the exports data, Mr. Subramaniam said that exports in August this year remained flat at $33 billion, while during the month of April to August, the exports stood at $192 billion, up by 17.1% compared to last year.
We will have to keep pushing into newer markets and sustain that momentum. Now, what is the reason for the flat growth in exports? You must understand that because of inflation, to ensure controlling inflation in India and ensure adequate availability of certain products, we have put some restrictions. You're aware that wheat has almost gone into a negative list. We have put serious restrictions on steel export as well as pellets. That has gone into a negative list. Some other products have also got export duties. Plus, iron ore also was put under restrictions last year.
The Commerce Secretary said imports in the month of August 2022 stood at 61.88 billion, registering an increase of 37% over previous year, while in the 5 months of the current fiscal, India's imports were at $318 billion, showing a rise of 45%. He said coal and petroleum imports are driving the rise in imports, but overall rise in imports is a sign of a healthy demand in the economy.
The other factor, as far as imports are concerned, about 25% of India's imports are consumer items. 75% is either raw materials or intermediates. So we are pulling in imports is a good sign that the economy is growing fast. So actually, a rise in imports per se is not a concern because it actually shows that imports are feeding into our domestic economy, which is growing fast. The counter is we need to push exports more, and I'm confident that is happening, and we see the totality. I think it's quite satisfactory.
The Indian Space Research Organization ISRO has successfully demonstrated a new technology with Inflatable Aerodynamic Decelerator IAD. Designed and developed by the ISRO's Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, the IAD is a game changer with multiple applications for future missions including to Mars and Venus. The IAD was successfully test flown in a Rohini sounding rocket from the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station. Rohini sounding rockets are routinely used for flight demonstration of new technologies being developed by the ISRO as well as by scientists from India and abroad. At around 84 kilometers altitude, the IAD was inflated and it descended through the atmosphere with a payload part of sounding rocket. After witnessing the launch, ISRO Chairman S. Somnath said, "This demonstration opens a gateway for cost-effective spent stage recovery using the inflatable aerodynamics decelerator technology, and the IAD technology can also be used in ISRO's future missions to Venus and Mars." The American Space Agency NASA called off the second attempt to launch an ambitious test flight of its new moon rocket last night following liquid hydrogen leak. The American Space Agency hoped to launch its Artemis 1 moon mission last night, but a hydrogen fuel leak detected about 7 hours before liftoff thwarted the attempt. NASA engineers repeatedly tried to rectify the fuel leak during the Artemis 1 countdown, but all 3 attempts failed. The launch of Artemis 1 moon rocket is facing a potentially lengthy delay after a second postponement. Engineers now want to inspect the rocket and any repairs may need to happen in the workshop rather than on the launch pad. And this means NASA may not see a third launch attempt before mid-October at the earliest. The Space Launch Station is the most powerful rocket ever developed by the U.S. Space Agency and is designed to send astronauts and their equipment back to the moon after an absence of 50 years.
The government has approved year-long commemoration of the Hyderabad Liberation Day from the 17th of this month to the 17th of September next year. Home Minister Amit Shah will be the chief guest at the inaugural program at the parade grounds in Hyderabad on the 17th of this month. The Ministry of Culture said that the year-long commemoration is aimed at paying tribute to all those who gave their lives for the liberation of Sansthan and its merger with the Indian Union. On the 17th of September 1948, more than 1 year after India secured independence from the British, the state of Hyderabad got its independence from the Nizam's rule.
The Enforcement Directorate has conducted raids on payment gateways, Paytm, Razorpay and Cashfree in connection with ongoing probe against illegal Chinese loan apps. The ED said searches were conducted at 6 premises in Bengaluru, including those belonging to the 3 fintech firms. Funds worth 17 crore rupees kept in merchant IDs and bank accounts of Chinese persons-controlled entities have been seized during the raids. Elaborating on the modus operandi, the ED said forged documents of Indian nationals were used to make them dummy directors, leading to generation of proceeds of crime. The ED initiated money laundering probe against illegal Chinese loan apps after 18 FIRs were lodged by the Bengaluru Police Cyber Crime Station for extortion and harassment of public who had availed small amount of loans through Chinese mobile applications. Smartphone-based Chinese instant loan apps have been under the scanner of Indian agencies following several allegations. Last month, Delhi police busted a network of over 100 such apps and arrested 22 people for allegedly extorting money under the pretext of giving instant loans through their applications.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will pay a 4-day visit to India beginning tomorrow. The Ministry of External Affairs said that during her visit, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will call on President Draupadi Murmu and Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar. She will also hold bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will call on Prime Minister Hasina.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. India is set to become third largest economy in the world by 2029. Country's exports to cross $750 billion this year. ISRO successfully tests inflatable aerodynamic decelerator to land missions on Mars or Venus. NASA calls off Artemis 1 moon rocket launch again after liquid hydrogen leak. Centre to begin year-long celebrations of liberation of Hyderabad from 17th of this month. ED raids Paytm, Razorpay and cash-free premises in Bengaluru as part of crackdown on Chinese loan apps. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to launch anthem and mascot of 36th National Games in Ahmedabad today. Leh in Ladakh all set to host first ever Mountain Bicycle World Cup today. And in cricket, India to take on Pakistan in T20 Asia Cup in Dubai this evening. Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan by 4 wickets in first match of Super 4 phase. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
क्या आप वरिष्ठ नागरिक हैं? क्या आपके मन में सेहत, आर्थिक, सामाजिक या भावनात्मक मुद्दों से जुड़ा कोई सवाल है? आकाशवाणी आपके लिए लेकर आया है कार्यक्रम एक कदम और बुजुर्गों के लिए, हर रविवार रात 9:30 बजे FM गोल्ड पर। आप अपने सवाल हमें व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर भेज सकते हैं या इस पते पर ईमेल कर सकते हैं एक कदम और airnews@gmail.com।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Welcome back. You're listening to the morning news. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will launch the anthem and mascot of the 36th National Games at Ahmedabad in Gujarat today. The curtain raiser event of the National Games will be held at the EKA Arena Trans Stadia. The theme of this edition of the National Games is Celebrating Unity Through Sports. An estimated 7,000 athletes from 28 states and 8 union territories are expected to take part across 36 disciplines, including most traditional Olympic sports. Indigenous sports like Mallakhambh and Yogasan will also feature in the National Games for the first time. Besides launching the anthem and mascot of National Games, Mr. Shah will inaugurate various initiatives in Ahmedabad today. Here is a report from our correspondent.
In the morning, Union Home Minister Amit Shah will inaugurate the Smart Schools of Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation in Ahmedabad. Mr. Shah will then inaugurate the 6th All India Prison Duty Meet at Trans Stadia. More than 1,000 officers and employees of various prisons from across the country will participate in this 3-day meet, which will conclude on 6th of September. In the evening, the minister will preside the curtain raiser ceremony of 36th National Games and closing ceremony of 11th Khel Mahakumbh at Trans Stadia. The minister will launch the mascot and the national anthem for the 36th National Games. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel and Union Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs Anurag Thakur will also grace the occasion along with dignitaries. The much awaited National Games, the biggest sports extravaganza, will begin from 29th of this month in Gujarat. With Aparna Khun from Ahmedabad, this is Rita Srivastava, AIR News.
Jammu and Kashmir Chief Electoral Officer CEO has invited all major political parties for a meeting tomorrow over special summary revision of electoral rolls. Ahead of unveiling of draft electoral rolls, CEO Hridesh Kumar has invited all major political parties including National Conference, BJP, Congress, People's Conference and People's Democratic Party for tomorrow's meeting in Jammu. The Election Commission of India will unveil the draft electoral rolls on 15th of September and claims or objections can be filed up to 25th of October. The final electoral roll would be published on the 25th of November.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ, reliving the journey of India since independence over the last 75 years with All India Radio. From 15th August, the series is being broadcast on All India Radio 100.1 FM Gold Channel, primetime news bulletins and across all its platforms. Tune in to stay updated with All India Radio.
In today's episode, we bring you the story of Bharat Ratna awardees from 2001 onwards.
In 2001, Nightingale of India, renowned playback singer Lata Mangeshkar was conferred with Bharat Ratna Award.
मैं उन लोगों को कभी नहीं भूल सकती हूँ. गाना बनाते थे, मुझे कहा करते थे, देखो लता, ये खास मैंने तुम्हारे लिए बनाया है, तुम नहीं गाओगे तो ये मैं गाना करूंगा नहीं. आज ये फिल्म देखते हुए मुझे सब लोग याद आए. मैं फिल्म इंडस्ट्री की बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ. जो एक लता नाम का पत्थर था, आज उन्होंने उसको भारत रत्न बना दिया है.
Hindustani classical Shehnai exponent Ustad Bismillah Khan was also awarded in the same year. In 2009, Pandit Bhim Sen Joshi, the celebrated Hindustani classical vocalist, was honored. In 2014, eminent scientist Dr. C.N.R. Rao was given the award.
I'm very, very grateful. Working not just been writing papers after papers, books after books. For the last 54 years, I have a large number of young people who have done PhDs with me, done research with me, and at the end of such a long career, if somebody looks at it and say it deserves an highest national award, I'm very grateful. I have got a lot of international awards in science, that is different. But getting a national award of my own country giving it, I think it's a great honor.
Sachin Tendulkar, the only player to score more than 34,000 runs in both ODI and Test cricket, was also given the award in 2014.
It's the biggest honor for me and I'm extremely delighted on receiving Bharat Ratna. I'd like to reiterate what I said a couple of months ago, that this recognition, this award, I'd like to dedicate this to my mother. I'm extremely proud to be born in this beautiful nation, and I'd like to express my gratitude for all the love, affection and support that I've received for a number of years.
In 2015, scholar and educational reformer Dr. Madan Mohan Malviya and seasoned parliamentarian and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee were honored. In 2019, former President of India Pranab Mukherjee received the honor. Educationist and social reformer Nanaji Deshmukh was also honored in the same year.
मानव की जो समग्रता है उसके संबंध में ये निश्चित एक आधारशिला बनाई कि मानव केवल शरीर नहीं, मानव शरीर, मन, बुद्धि और आत्मा चारों मिलकर के एक एकात्म व्यक्तित्व है और इन चारों का संतुलित विकास यह मानव का विकास है.
Famous composer, playback singer, poet and filmmaker from Assam, Bhupen Hazarika, was also conferred the Bharat Ratna Award in 2019.
The reward and award dono mila, and NFDC perhaps got for the first time such money for a musical. Music was not inseparable from international films, you see. Dil hum kare ghabraye
मन धम धम करे कर जाए, एक बूंद कभी पानी की मोरी अखियों से बरसाए।
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ can be accessed on @AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on AIR official YouTube channel, News on AIR app, Facebook and Instagram handles. So tune in to All India Radio News for Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani ke saath. Moving on to sports, in Ladakh, Leh town is all set to host the first ever Mountain Bicycle World Cup, the UCI MTB Eliminator World Cup in India. Ladakh Police, in collaboration with the Administration of Union Territory of Ladakh and Cycling Association of India, are organizing this international cycling event today in Leh town. Our correspondent reports that Ladakh leg of the Eliminator World Cup is part of a series of 10 professional races held in various cities across the world.
20 international and 55 national and local cyclists are participating in the event. There is excitement among the youth, especially the professional cyclists, about the arrival of MCB Eliminator World Cup that is taking place first time in India. National MTB champion from Himachal Pradesh, Mr. Shiven said,
"It's a very new format for us Indians. This is the first time this format is being organized in India, and it's a great opportunity to be racing with the international riders."
Similarly, a few professional cyclists who have participated in the just concluded Indonesian Eliminator event and the 4-time national champion Karik Singh Adonis Tangpu said,
Ladakh is proposing such a good event like a World Cup, XC World Cup, so that's wonderful news for us. We're all very happy about this. This will help us a lot because we are going to learn a lot from this, because if there are people, like all these international riders coming here, then we know where we stand and what we need to improve on.
Ladakh Lieutenant Governor Arke Mathur will flag off the cross-country eliminator heats and finals at Leh Main Bazaar today. Ramesh Chandra, All India Radio News, Leh.
In cricket, India will take on Pakistan in T20 Asia Cup in Dubai today after qualifying for the Super 4 stage of the tournament. The match will start at 7:30 p.m. IST. India are on the top of the table with 4 points from 2 wins and as many matches. All India Radio will broadcast running commentary of the match in Hindi and English. Last night, Sri Lanka defeated Afghanistan by 4 wickets in the first match of the Super 4 phase at Sharjah. Chasing a target of 176 runs, Sri Lanka made 179 for the loss of 6 wickets in 19.1 overs.
All India Radio News has launched a weekly interactive program, Abhyas, for competitive exams. It is aimed at reaching out to students and job seekers preparing for competitive examinations. The program is in Hindi and is broadcast every Saturday between 9:30 and 10 p.m. The next episode of the program will be aired on Saturday, the 10th of September. The topic for this episode is Sanskrit. Students can send their queries on WhatsApp number 928-909-4044 or mail on abhyas.air@gmail.com. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of very light rain or drizzle towards evening or night, while Mumbai will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. The top headline across dailies is India overtaking the UK, becoming the 5th largest economy in the world. The Sunday Pioneer writes India overtakes UK, now 5th largest too. Hindustan Times reports economy on a sound wicket, says Finance Minister, as it overtakes UK's. The Hindu Business Line headlines offer freebies only if you can bear the burden, says Finance Minister to states. And finally, the pen gets more power as book-to-screen adaptation surge, rides the Hindu Business Line, which adds that with the rise of OTT platforms, authors are penning more character-driven stories.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. India is set to become third largest economy in the world by 2029. Country's exports to cross $750 billion this year. ISRO successfully tests inflatable aerodynamic decelerator to land missions on Mars or Venus. NASA calls off Artemis 1 moon rocket launch again after liquid hydrogen leak. Center to begin year-long celebrations of liberation of Hyderabad from the 17th of this month. ED raids Paytm, Razorpay and cash-free premises in Bengaluru as part of crackdown on Chinese loan apps. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to launch anthem and mascot of 36th National Games in Ahmedabad today. Leh in Ladakh all set to host first ever Mountain Bicycle World Cup today. And in cricket, India to take on Pakistan in T20 Asia Cup in Dubai this evening. Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan by 4 wickets in first match of Super 4 phase. And with that we end the morning news. Have a great day.